Hi, I'm Merideth Nagel, and thanks for watching today. I am here with Paul Roundtree. He is the regional president at Main Street Community Bank. Like the rest of these videos that we've been putting out for you, we're going to be talking today about what's happening in the economy in South Lake County, Clermont specifically, but even wider in the Central Florida area. Paul's going to talk about his perspective as a banker, what he's seeing in banking practices, what he's seeing in loans, business loans, property loans, and just give us his insight as to what's happening. So thank you, Paul, for joining us.
No, my pleasure. I appreciate you asking.
Well, I'm really glad for people to hear based on your experience. So you've been working in the Clermont area for how long now?
Just shy of 20 years.
Okay, so you've seen tremendous change.
Tremendous change. That's
and
right.
And you were one of us that lived through the recession, and we're still standing.
Still standing, and obviously so is the community. So it's a good thing.
So there's been some concern about perhaps we're in kind of a stagnant. Our growth has peaked, and now we're kind of in a stagnant good place, the Goldilocks place, that people often talk about. Not too hard, not too soft. Yeah. But I sense a lot of concern in the community as to how long this will last. Do you have any thoughts based on what you're seeing, what you think's happening in the market right now?
I think when you're in that Goldilocks place, as you mentioned, you should be nervous because you've kind of plateaued, and generally after that, there's a correction, and there's a lot of publicity out there now. We're really at the 10-year mark from when it was announced that we were in a recession. So,
do you agree that we're in a plateau in our? No, I'm not talking about what your nationwide thoughts might be, but specific to our area. Do you think we might be in a plateau?
That's the golden key.
Right.
That's everybody says if you could predict the lottery, or you could predict a recession, and I'm not sure that all the signs are still positive. The development out in this area is still continuing to grow. Are we immune to some of the cycles? I don't think so. We're a bedroom community for the Orlando MSA, and I think as the whole Central Florida region goes, so does Clermont.
Are you still seeing a good volume in, say, commercial loans, which sometimes lead or one of the leading trends? A lot of people believe when commercial loans dry up, then kind of everything follows.
Sure. Yeah. So a leading indicator going into a recession generally is residential, and we have not seen a downtick in applications. Now, what's fueling that is really what you should be asking yourself, and we're still at all-time low rates. Prices are rising, and volume is still moderate. So it's hard to say where we're at because we're kind of in the Goldilocks phase. Prices rising, sellers market. That's the wave we're at. But like you said, when is that correction coming?
Yeah, and so you don't have any prognostications for us.
If you go off of what everybody's telling you, and
well, I want to know what your gut says based on. We're talking about 20 years and during that whole time you've been in the banking community, yes?
Correct.
Right.
Longer than that.
So you but even specifically in our area, you've been here 20 years. So you've seen the height of it, the low of it. What's your gut telling you?
My gut is telling me there's going to be some type of correction, but I don't think it's going to be major. I think most of the generation now is used to these low rates, low cost. So I think that'll create part of that correction. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot with even the speculators out there. They're hesitant to get into the market. So even all the growth we're seeing, most of it are owner-occupied type facilities versus the workup to the bubble before. Everybody became a developer, everybody became a builder. So we're not quite seeing that yet.
Well, and I remember the workup before, there was really no fear that it could ever change, right? There was just this, we had to have known intellectually that prices couldn't keep rising, but there was really, at least maybe you recall it, I don't recall a sense of, oh my gosh, this is stopping. It seemed like everybody was jumping in, it would never quit.
Well, when the growth rate was 30% per year, you couldn't get hurt.
Right.
And that's why the 100% financing and everything else came about is, the equity was, by the time you closed on your contract, you'd already developed 20% equity.
Right, you could flip it.
You could flip it
and
tomorrow.
make money. Yep. So are you seeing now with some of your investor clients, some people who get frequent loans, is there an articulatable thing that they may be anxious about, or is there just some kind of feeling like the good can only last so long? And
sure. I think what you're finding from the investor side they're coming to the table with tenants. They're not building it and hoping they'll come. There's a little bit of it, but that would only be there because it's in the right location. But I think the speculation that we saw where investment was happening outside of maybe the core area, we haven't started to see that yet. So that's why I say I think I'm cautiously optimistic or jokingly skeptimistic. I'm skeptical.
I haven't heard
optimistic.
that one yet.
So I think when you start seeing the speculators come in and people taking chances outside of the market that makes sense, I think that's when you really should start to take pause.
Well, and from a banking perspective, you would, I guess, in your perfect world, you would have that kind of knowledgeable investment. In other words, people coming knowing that they've already got the tenant that's there. I mean, that's got to feel better for you from a banking perspective.
Does, absolutely.
So you're not hoping that we ever get back to what I call the crazy times of 2005?
If I could demand it, I would. That's obviously not good for anyone. It's not good for even your end user, because the speculators, and they drive up all the prices, and then there's a correction. So even the good people who had sound business practices are being hurt by those actions. So no, I hope we never get back to that.
And your bank has branches statewide.
Yeah, so mainly throughout Central Florida, from East Coast, obviously, out here as far as Lake County. So
and is the general feeling still that Lake County is a great place to come invest your money?
It is absolutely on that radar, and that's not just me locally. You can look at regional and national publications that regularly cite specifically South Lake County.
Yeah, it feels good to be in South Lake County.
It really does.
So you've been a big part of this community for a long time. You and I have served on civic boards. We have served on nonprofit boards. Can you talk a little bit about what that's been like for you, and as you've watched our area grow?
Sure. So obviously, being a community banker, the heartbeat of a community is small business. Well, with that comes your community related to those business owners and the demands that are put on the community, whether it's homelessness or whatever it is. You know, clothing, kids, scholarships. That's a big key one for us, and you know that for me is what I enjoy. When you're giving back to your community, it doesn't just have to be financially. You know, it can be, you know, serving on a board or volunteering, and being able to be a catalyst at the same time being a part of it.
Right.
I mean, it's the full package for being a community banker, and it's actually why I love my profession.
Yeah, and always, the whole time I've known you, you've only been in community banking.
Besides through acquisition, which was short-lived, I can't see myself in any other capacity.
It's your preference.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for being with us today and answering
pleasure.
some of these questions so candidly. So if people want to get in touch with you, what kind of services can you offer them here at Main Street?
Well, we're a full-service bank. You know, I'll tell you to always bank with a community bank. You know, there's a personal touch. They know what's going on in the community they serve. They understand the businesses that are in their community. So really, it's there's no limits to what we can do as a bank.
Well, and I would say, I full disclosure, I bank with Main Street Community Bank, and I say that I really appreciate the fact that you know exactly what's happening in our community because you're here with us.
Correct.
You're not some guy that's living in New York trying to just make good decisions for me here.
Correct, and that's the key. We pick up our phones, the decisions are made right here locally.
All right, so if people want to get in touch with you, what number should they call?
The office in Claremont is 352-404-0404, just to keep it simple. And of course, we always have our website. It's mainstreetcbf.com, and that stands for Central Bank Florida. Community Bank of Florida.
Perfect. All right, so if you need me, as usual, you can reach me at 352-394-7408. Thanks for listening. And if you have any questions about anything you've heard today, don't be afraid to give either of us a call. We'll be glad to answer any of those questions and maybe see what we can do to further our relationships with you. So thank you.
No, my pleasure. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll see you next time.
Bye.